Welcome to the first edition of Boxing During Dinner of 2013. 2013, the year that David said he was going to eat much healthier, and he's eating bread right now.
Yeah, but this is my 5th piece of bread, so for full disclosure though, I've actually been eating really well up until this moment, but RANDAZZO'S bread, along with everything else that is served on the menu, is delicious,
it's
irresistible.
amazing.
I'm about to get a fish that I can't pronounce.
I can't pronounce it either, and I can't eat it either. So
true, because Armando will die.
I will die. I'm allergic.
I'm excited to get whatever
but
it is.
Speaking of Randazzo, you know, our congrats go to Mark Randazzo and Yesenia, who just had a baby girl, Valentina.
Congratulations.
And you know, he's not here because he's home. You know, he hasn't shaved or showered or anything because he's being a dad. And you know,
that's what he's supposed to do.
Exactly. You know, many long nights, and you know, Mark will be on the show soon, and you know, taking care of us as always, but right now he's taking care of business at home, the little baby girl.
Good for him. Congrats.
And she was born, she's healthy, beautiful, and that's all you could ask for.
Yep.
So 2013, another year of boxing. 2012 was actually a very good year, David, as we went through in our recap of the end of the year. And 2013 starts, and with it, of course, starts controversy, especially on Twitter, and especially with Teddy Atlas. Last Friday in Miami, Florida. It was here in Miami. I wasn't able to go to the fight, unfortunately, but Rances Barthelemy fought against
Usmanee.
We'll just say Usmanee.
Give him one
name. It was a pretty close decision, David. I was surprised how many people thought Usmanee got robbed straight off the bat. And I actually wrote to somebody on Twitter who I said, yeah, it's very easy for somebody watching on TV to say that when that's all the announcers are saying. And he's like, no, you know, watch it with the volume off. That's great. You know, I'm glad he does. And you know, if he thought Usmanee won, you know, that's awesome. You know, it's not far-fetched to say that Usmanee won the fight. But to throw a tirade like Teddy Atlas is the master of doing this. He watches a fight, starts screaming at the top of his lungs. It's the biggest outrage. It wasn't the worst decision in the world. Barthelemy was boxing, you know, outboxing him early in the fight. He probably could have outboxed him the entire fight. He kept on going against the advice of his trainer, John David Jackson and Chico Rivas. Rivas was screaming at him throughout the fight that he wasn't doing his job. He started exchanging punches with Usmanee and made it a fight. You know, maybe it was a close decision, but and it could have gone both ways, but it's not a robbery. I mean, a robbery is Whitaker and Chavez. It's Paul Williams and Erislandy Lara. Maybe even, you know, the Pacquiao Bradley, Abreu Rios, but not this fight.
I'm going to say there are worse decisions, but it is a reminder of the fact that boxing is still a very subjective sport. And if for no other reason, boxing remained in the headlines at the beginning of the year when it might otherwise not have been, because these are, you know, who is Rances Barthelemy to, you know, the average viewer? He's nobody. But scoring, you know, remains that issue, and I think it's, you know, maybe a good thing for the sport overall. Definitely not for Usmanee, who a lot of people thought won this fight. I'm among the people who did think that he won the fight. You know, I'm a little more on the side of it is a bad decision, but you know, it is what it is. There are worse upsets, but I do like the fact that boxing is on people's lips right now.
Of course,
because
and it was getting a lot of attention on Twitter. And you know what? And I hate something, yet I've used it as we've all used it. We've watched a decision on TV, and at the end we're like, oh, what a horrible decision. This guy outlanded the other guy X to X. The judges at ringside don't have that information. And there's a big misconception in boxing. I've sat next to people as close as I'm sitting here next to David, watching the same fight from the same vantage point, and I've had a completely different decision than the person next to me. Like he said, it's a subjective sport. Judges are going to see fights differently. To say, oh, that the judges are bad, that it was a hometown decision, that, oh, Usmanee outlanded him this to this, you know, the judge at ringside doesn't have a, oh, wait, I'm looking at the monitor. This guy's outland. He doesn't look at the CompuBox numbers. He's watching the fight, judging it as best he could. And yes, a lot of times there are horrible decisions. I've been next to somebody who has told me, oh, I can't believe this guy won. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I give this guy 10 rounds.
Well, Harold Letterman talks about it quite frequently. Boxing is about ring generalship. If it were about punches landed, then we're talking about fencing or the old style of Olympic boxing. This is ring generalship. Who's imposing their will? Whose style fight is actually being fought in the ring? There's a lot of things that come into play with it, and I'm with you 100%. That is one of the reasons fair weather fans who are only watching fights here and there on occasion, or when they're pulling for the other guy, happen to see a fight, you know, the way that they choose to see it.
And bottom line, I wasn't impressed with Barthelemy. I expected much more from him. He looked good early, faded late. Either or, I don't think any of these two guys are championship level yet. But one that is championship level, which we'll talk about more next week as we get closer to his fight, is Mikey Garcia.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first big fight of 2013 that I'm really looking forward to. Mikey Garcia and Orlando Salido. I think Garcia is going to take that fight. Again, like I said, we're going to talk a bit more in depth next week. But it starts off the year in a good way, and the same night, Gennady Golovkin.
Triple G, they call
Triple
him.
G, exactly. And it's going to be a great night for boxing.
I think the fight, I think that whole card is pretty stacked, but Golovkin versus Rosado has the chance to steal the show to me. I like the fact that Gabriel Rosado had the chance to fight at 158 pounds, and he said, no, I'm going all the way to 160.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I have... You may continue, but
have at it, my friend.
that whole situation is stupid. It's beyond freaking stupid. It belittles the boxing fan for somebody to say, "Oh my God, Gabriel Rosado, wow, congratulations for wanting to fight at 160 and not at a catchweight." First of all, Golovkin is a champion. There shouldn't be a catchweight.
Right.
Second, if we were talking catchweights with Sugar Ray Robinson, he like bitch slapped both of us at the same time. Good for Rosado. I mean, we've seen this time and time again. All these fighters. Well, I'm a welterweight, but I want to fight at 144. No, man, screw you. If you're a welterweight, you're a welterweight.
But I think that's the reason people are getting all excited, is the fact that this is unique.
No, it's unique, but it's sad. I mean, the fact that it's unique is the sad part. It's a tragedy in boxing that before there were 8 weight divisions. Now there's like 18,000 weight divisions, and even then, people still want to catch weight. I mean, if that's what boxing is becoming, if you're one of those guys, oh no, I'm Manny Pacquiao, I can only fight at 150, then screw you, man, don't fight. Fight at 147, fight at 140.
Hey, I agree.
Quit boxing if you're gonna be catch weight. Imagine Russell Wilson and look, that linebacker's way too big for me. I need a linebacker at a catch weight. Screw you, man. It's the sport of boxing.
The old
dude.
Cuban man in you is very excited about that, and he wants to be a purist. But I am on the side of people who are excited about this, because
great
Rosado
for Gabriel
has the
Rosado.
chance.
I mean, whoever suggested to him about the catch weight is a moron, and I'm glad he told him, you know what, you're wrong. Or if it's his manager, his trainer, whatever. I mean, the guy's fighting for the middleweight championship of the world. The title held by Marvin Hagler and Carlos Monzon, who did not fight at freaking catchweights. If you want to come in at 157, come in at 157.
Armando's going to start crying any minute now, off his high horse.
Exactly.
I'm going to take a step back to the Salido Garcia fight. Let's not forget.
Is that out of catchweight?
Yeah, no, that's not a catchweight fight. At featherweight, 126 pounds.
How it should be.
Let's remember the last time we saw Salido fighting Juan Manuel Lopez. Round 9 of their second fight, to me, had a very good argument for being round of the year in 2012. I mean, those guys literally were rock'em sock'em robots that threw everything they had, and Lopez had to have thrown maybe a little bit more, because by the 10th round, that fight was over. Salido capped it again for the second time. I think that Mikey Garcia is absolutely the more talented fighter in this fight. He's speedier, he's a better defender. I mean, he's just an all-around solid fighter. But he's never been in the ring with somebody like Salido, who does... I mean, the guy's a former criminal, fights like a former criminal, will probably go into criminal tactics in order to win the fight. I think Garcia's in for a hell of a night.
And he's one of those guys that even as a champion is still hungry. He still has a lot to prove. He's one of these guys that's a champion with over 10 losses.
Hey, and let's not forget, we're going to talk about him later, but he beat Robert Guerrero before he tested positive for steroids. But this is a guy who's fought just about everybody at some point in his career. Right, he's still fighting for respect.
And not only that, I mean, I like you said, I like Garcia. I think he's the more talented of the fighters. I think he has the perfect trainer in his corner, which is his brother Robert. And together they'll form a game plan that I think eventually will win him the fight. But let's not forget, Salido, like you said, against Juan Manuel Lopez, not only did he do it once, he did it twice in Lopez's backyard. And he damaged Lopez for good. Not a lot of people talk about this. I've spoken to Juan Manuel Lopez since, and the guy's slurring his speech. He's not the same fighter he was before he ever stepped into the ring with Orlando Salido.
Yeah, I mean, Salido is a warhorse. Ask Lopez what it feels like to be in the ring with him. I mean, Lopez is the guy who got by bullying everybody through his entire career until he met a guy who wouldn't be bullied. Mikey Garcia, I don't think is that kind of fighter. He knows what he's in with against Salido. Lopez did too, but he didn't care, and he still fought recklessly. But Salido is a different animal. I think I think Garcia knows that, and is the type of boxer who's gonna, maybe not make it an exciting fight. There will be moments because both of these guys have power, but I think Garcia is gonna move on to a close, but wide enough margin where people know that he's a decision winner in this fight. This hasn't happened in a while. Wow. If we can, we got our food coming to us in the midst of the meal. The chicken parm makes a cameo there at the table.
That's amazing. And that's Alex's plate, which he'll eat as soon as he finishes taping the show.
Yeah, see, Alex is excited. You got to hold off, buddy. That's a lot of freaking food.
Look at this plate.
And here comes mine. Now what is? Wow. What we're looking at? We're looking at
pure poison for me because that could actually kill me.
Armando would die. Want to tell everybody here what I'm about to eat.
That's a Mediterranean fish called branzino. It's similar to the sea bass, corvina style of fish.
And it looks delicious. And I've got myself some mussels right over here on the side. Some clams. I've got broccoli.
Some roasted potatoes.
We should stop the episode now.
No, we have to continue.
We have to continue, but I'm that excited. This looks amazing. Thank you so much. RANDAZZO'S Little Italy does it again. Let's move on.
Moving on, because now we're in a hurry. We want to eat this. Fights that we want to see in 2013. Everybody's talking about this Canelo fight on May 4th. Who do you think he ends up fighting finally?
Well, you happen to have some possible rumors about what that fight might turn out to be. I'm gonna let you share that information.
Well, Chris Robinson, who's a friend of ours, and Chris, he covers boxing in Vegas better than most. He says that there were rumblings that Robert Guerrero might fight Canelo. Robert Guerrero did retweet this. If it was a complete lie, he'd probably put, look, the rumors aren't true, but that could be a possibility. I mean, they were talking about Guerrero fighting that same night against Floyd Mayweather.
Sure, and that to me raises a couple other questions. What I want to see is Canelo versus Austin Trout. Now, people who've upset the apple cart in the past haven't really gotten their opportunity to get the fights that they want because they weren't the named opponent. But that did happen with Josecito Lopez, who had no business fighting Canelo because of the weight difference. Austin Trout is somebody who does absolutely have that right. He's a legitimate champion at 154 pounds. I believe that he's a better talent than Canelo is at this stage in their careers. I think he's a more complete fighter, and I think he's got the tools to beat Canelo. Canelo himself has gone on record as saying he would like that fight. I respect Canelo a lot, and a lot of people want to knock him for his track record and the people he's fought, but let's remember the Canelo curse is alive and well. He was supposed to fight Paul Williams before a car accident. He was supposed to fight Miguel Cotto before James Kirkland. All these guys were in line to fight him, who everyone would agree were legitimate opponents for him, and every single one of them has fallen off the radar for another reason.
Ortiz. And I think he's going to end up fighting Alfredo Angulo. That's just my feeling. It's two Mexicans fighting on the 4th of May, right before Cinco de Mayo.
Give us Ricardo Mayorga. Didn't we say we wanted to see that a while ago? I'm still on board for that.
So I think he'll fight Angulo, and Robert Guerrero, I think he'll fight Mayweather at some point. I hope he gets a Mayweather fight. If not, Mayweather should fight Tim Bradley. What's up with Tim Bradley? I heard he might fight in March, but against who? It's not going to be Lamont Peterson anymore.
But let's be real. Tim Bradley is a top-ranked fighter. Okay, so if Floyd Mayweather is not fighting Robert Guerrero, and there is truth to the rumor Guerrero's going to move up and fight Canelo, then what happens to Mayweather? And at 147 pounds on the Golden Boy roster or another Al Heyman fighter, who does he have? I mean, is he going to fight Andre Berto? There's literally no other option. And outside of Guerrero and Canelo, I think every fight out there for Floyd Mayweather is an absolute reach.
Right, and I think Mayweather's going to end up fighting Canelo Alvarez later in the year, in September. But first things first. May comes obviously before September, and sure. Canelo needs to fight one of these guys, and Mayweather does too. So we'll see what happens, or maybe Mayweather just holds off till September.
Yeah,
which is another possibility. But
it does seem safe to say, for the record, though, that whoever Canelo fights this time really does appear to be, unless something else happens with the Canelo curse, his most difficult opponent to date. And for that reason alone, I think we should be excited for that card in May.
We're gonna wrap things up so we could eat. But one more thing before I forget, Roberto Acevedo, who won this past Friday, he's going to be on the show soon. Congrats to him. And also Jairo Socarras, who made his ESPN debut, won by knockout in that fight against an unbeaten fighter.
Former guest of ours as well.
And he's been a guest on Boxing During Dinner. So we'll let you guys go, but follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, write to us. on what fights you want to see in 2013, and we'll talk about it next week.
We're on Instagram now too. Check us out.